Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Joey T and Mel podcast. What a beautiful day.
Yeah. Nice day outside. It's windy as
Uh,
hell.
yeah, you know what? I fucked up, y'all. I'm supposed to say I'm officially Joey T.
Oh yeah, and this is first class. But damn, Joey, get it right next time. What's wrong
Yeah.
with you, bro?
Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But only comment with parts of this that resonate with you because we wanna build connections and stuff. And yeah, don't be giving me no fake yes. I need to interpret that. You need to tell me something. Give me an emoji.
What you talking about? Like, what you
Yeah.
saying?
So what's up, sis? How are you today?
Oh man, I'm good. I think I'm always good. Like I don't know, even if I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna figure out how to be good. But no,
It's
for real,
true.
I'm good.
It's
Mhm.
true. Me too. Me too. I've had I went to the gym today. I found this cute little hat at the thrift
I see
store.
you.
Okay. This shirt, I just want y'all to know let me tell you how pointless this shirt is though. You would assume that these buttons go through this thing in here, but it doesn't open.
Yeah.
It's an illusion. It's supposed to be,
Wow.
yeah. But I bought this shirt and I wasn't fitting the shirt, and now I'm fitting the shirt very loosely.
Oh, I'm loving
So
that feeling, bro.
I'm feeling that feeling right now.
I know we already talked about like weight loss and like, getting fit and stuff before, but I'm still in my journey. So I finally had that moment like this weekend where I was like, damn, I see you like putting on clothes that like couldn't fit before, wearing things that like I couldn't wear before. Walking past myself and looking at my reflection, like, okay, there we go. Yeah, it works. It
Look at
works.
that.
And you know what? It wasn't even like, bruh, it was like all the shit that I already knew. Like, why didn't I do this before?
Yeah.
I'm so mad at myself. I wasted all these years tripping.
Yeah.
Tripping. I think I know
Tripping.
why. Hold on.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
got a question for you because this changed a lot for me. You actually helped me put a finger on something that was like plaguing me for a long time.
Oh no.
You were like, Mel, I don't know when it was, but you were like, Melissa, do you think you have ADHD? And I was like, what you trying to say? I didn't really understand it. And then like I looked it up and you were telling me about some of the symptoms and how it plays out in like adulthood, like not childhood. But once you like told me that, like, it was like mind blowing. Like, how did you know? And how did you know you had it, like ADHD?
Man, well, beyond the doctor telling me that I had it. um okay, so honestly, this is going to sound really random. Everyone's journey to ADHD confirmation is different. And we all can we also get into, after I'm done saying this, can we get into the person that says, "Oh my god, I'm still ADHD," and you look at them and you're like, I'm not trying to tell you about your like self-diagnosis, but I don't think it's ADHD, sis.
Nah.
Oh, I've tried Adderall. No, you haven't. It makes me slow down. There's no way. I'm not even gonna go there. Right now. We'll go there. We'll go there later.
You're
Um,
abusing drugs, ma'am. That is not for you.
yes. Okay. The truth
Go ahead.
is, when I discovered the term indigo child, right? Indigo a child, and we'll get into that down the line. Part of the symptoms, or a way to identify as an indigo child, is that we have, on the spectrum of some kind of neurodivergent mental whatever. And so one of them is ADHD and being hyper creative and not being able, and a truth seeker and all these things. Anyways, fast forward to the first time I saw a doctor for it, which was in Nashville, Tennessee. I think it was 2009, 2010. There's a test that they give you, right? This doctor, I mean, I've been to plenty of doctors since this doctor, but this specific doctor did the right test. There's a paper, you answer questions, and then he starts asking you questions, and he's like, yeah, he brought it to my attention that every time while he was asking me a question, I was paying attention to something else in his room, asking him about his degree, asking it like asking him questions where he's supposed to be getting to know me. And anyways, he's like, yeah, I'm going to diagnose you with hyperattention deficit disorder. And so he prescribed me some medication for it. And, my life kind of turned around. I went from like wild person who was like constantly like all over the place, up and down, left to right, in and out. One day I was so sure about life. The next day I wasn't, you know, but I do want to say something. That's how I knew. That's how I knew because I think that naturally we seek things and there's like an inner compass. And I always felt like something was, I don't want to say wrong, but I knew that I always had an advantage, or I always was focused on something else other than what everyone else was talking about, or my brain was always on to the next, or I was a step ahead, or I was cutting somebody off before they even finished their sentence, or I was emotionally reactive, or I only focused on things that piqued my interest, right? Because a lot of people think with hyperattention deficit disorder that you can't focus, and it's not that. We actually can focus. We get a hyper focus on things that interest us. So in school, you know this because we had a lot of classes together. You and I both had this issue, which is why I thought, think about this, Mel. We skipped school almost every day our senior year because how late is it too late before we gave her in up?
We might get a referral,
bro. And we would leave school because we just couldn't just sit there in silence and read. We couldn't just sit there and listen to the long ass lectures, especially those monotone teachers with no emotional right. And so, I mean, at that age, 16, 17, 18, I didn't know. But when I first discovered, I think it was 2021, it's when you're out of school and you live life a little bit, and yeah. So if this is my advice to anybody, not just ADHD, if there is smoke, there is fire, right? Right. Okay. So if you feeling like something's not right, if you're feeling like you just can't put your finger on it, that's where you go reach out to help and professionals. And you don't have to, you can tell them your symptoms and they can tell you all the things, and you work collaboratively with these people to help you figure out if whatever diagnosis they're coming to sounds like something you're dealing with. But also, I want to say that medication doesn't have to be a lifelong thing. It could be, you could use it for years and years and years and learn how to cope. You could use it for however, I think the stigma around it is that if I get medication for mental health, I'm less of a person. Like it's weird. For instance, not for ADHD, that's kind of like we have the fun neurodivergent, but someone who has a lot of stigmas, like a bipolar, they're not going to say, they're less hesitant to take a Zoloft or something, or whatever, Wellbutrin, whatever it is that they give you. I wouldn't know. But the point is, to answer your question, see, I'm ADD because you asked me one question, I gave you the whole story. Okay, this is how we know.
You just took that from me. I was about to say, you gave the most ADHD answer. Thank you for putting that on display. Keep going. There you go. I like it.
The last 5 minutes of this conversation is the answer to the question that Melissa asked me. Literally. How did you know? Let's turn that around. So I said it to you, sure.
I didn't know. Oh.
Okay. I said it to you, and then what made you say, that might be? Because what I know about you is, even if I tell you something or someone else tells you something, not until you make that step to be like, okay, maybe. So what pushed you to that?
Facts. You don't dispute your own facts. So I did research, and just like doing a replay of my life, not even my life, my education, right? I was put in gifted in like kindergarten, first grade. I met you. This is how we had so many classes together, because we had magnet classes. It was always in honors, advanced, AP. We were taking ninth grade classes in middle school. We were taking college classes in high school. Like, we were always ahead of the game. My mom was a teacher. Like, I was always smart. So when it comes to mental health, I think there's a lot of stigmas, especially in African American and Hispanic homes. Your kid doesn't have to have a learning disability. Like, I wasn't dumb. Like, I was very smart. I picked up on things very quickly, and it was because I had ADHD. I don't think she realized that.
Yeah.
But then she would start to hear certain things from certain teachers, like, she has so much potential, but she just doesn't apply that. Or she would notice that I would wait to the last minute to do my project, and I'm at 3:00 in the morning typing up a 5-page essay, right? Whatever. And she's like, why are you waiting this late to do that? Oh my God. And then I bring the grade back like two weeks later, and it's like a B+. And she's like, but it would have been an A+ if you would have did it on time. And I'm like, So I realized my superpowers with it. And I just thought, I was like, okay, I'm smart. I could just apply being smart to things that I liked. And I thought that was pretty cool. But then when I wasn't interested, when there was those teachers that would give us, they would call them dittos. Remember, Joey?
Yeah.
Here's a ditto worksheet. Here you
Yeah.
go. So I'm going to sit in your class and you're not going to talk to me. You're not going to engage me. You're not going to
Yeah.
teach me. You're not going to challenge me. You're not going to expand my brain, my learning power. You're going to have me do redundant work. Once I was old enough to know that and realize that on my own, we started making those decisions.
Yeah.
It's so funny you said that, because my mom and I finally had to talk about it. Not finally, but she found out. But it was one of those things where I was just always smart and made those decisions ahead of time. But here's where it caught me when I went to college, right? Smart enough I got accepted to any college that I applied to, even with skipping class. Like Joey just told you, we skipped a lot in high school, especially when we knew we could skip.
Yeah.
But going to college, right, and being on your own schedule, and you having to go to class on a certain time, and you having to do work at a certain time, and then you sitting in lecture classes, you have to do this is what killed me. You have to do 2 years of prerequisite courses.
Yeah.
Of learning, the things that I already felt like I learned, but maybe at a deeper level. I give them that, right? But I just was like, okay, if I'm going to school for this, teach me this. Like, I want to learn that now. I did this for like 13 years. That's pre-K and daycare. Like, I'm tired of this. And I couldn't lock into it. I couldn't focus. And I really went through a depression because I didn't finish school. I dropped out of college. And being someone who's always been considered so intelligent, so smart, that was always my goal. I got in. I just couldn't focus. I couldn't complete it. And I thought it was me, like, what's wrong with me? And when you said that, I said, you know what? I'm not going to tell you how I figured out things would help me, but I may or may have not recreationally tried something.
Yeah.
That, let me tell you about this experience, okay? My mind. So when you have ADHD, it comes out in different ways. I think with Joey, he expresses his a little bit more when you were like, ooh, back in the day, it was more emotional. Me, I would be in my head, right?
Yeah.
Same level of passion, but me, it's like swirling around, and him, he's like, I gotta let it out. I can't keep it in, right? And then, so those of you who have kids, you may have the same, notice these things, because we're going to give you both sides to this.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took this thing right now, and I'm like, yo, wait a little bit. And I've took some things in my life before that you had to wait a little bit for. So I'm like, what am I waiting for? And it wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't like a drug, like, a really, really recreational drug. It, like, if your mind was full of fog and dust, it like swept it away. And this belonged here. This thought goes here. That goes here. Oh, I need to get my car keys. My car keys are here. Let me get my car keys so I can go. Oh, before I go, I got to get my wallet. My wallet's here. Oh, okay. All right, babe. And I was like, all of the things that I would have walked outside and came back and then left the house. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say bye. Like, all of those things were like, and I was like, Joey, what the hell? What's that movie, Limitless?
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. I took the Limitless pill, bro. I was like, yo, I did 10 things today and I worked out and I feel great.
Yes. Wait, pause. Because even now as an adult, there's a lot that I experienced in my early 20s that they're now finally putting words to. So we procrastinate as ADHD folks, right? To your point,
yeah,
we do. That sense of urgency, this has to get done. That's why you were up at 3 a.m, because you had no other choice but to get it done, right? And that I gotta like we that's that energy, that mania kind of mania energy is what ADHD is. It's like if it's boring, which traditionally school is boring. I'm sorry for those of you who love it. That's a personality trait.
You're boring. No.
School is boring for people like us because it doesn't allow you the freedom to think outside the box because they're teaching you the box. But people like us who have learned the box right away. Oh, you remember the box on TV where you paid
out of the box?
No, girl, when you channel 69.
That's a nasty channel.
Only at night. The channel 69 was the box where you would call a certain thing and they would play your favorite music video.
Oh yes.
The box. Okay,
yes,
sorry.
Yes.
Random thought. But
yes.
There's a ADHD there's a word, I think this word, paralyzation, where you're so paralyzed you lay in bed and it can easily look like a depression symptom, but it's not that. You are paralyzed because for me as an ADHD person to go to the grocery store to pick up raspberries because I want them, I think, oh man, I have to get up. I have to put on shoes. I have to put on socks. I have to find my keys. I have to get in the car. I have to stand in line. I have to do all these things. Oh my God, that's just so much when you take the limitless pill. And by no means am I glorifying it. A little, I am. But when you take the limitless pill, this pill who should not be named, all you know is, oh, I just got to go to the store to get raspberries. Boom. And you go to the store and get raspberries. So the paralyzation comes from being overly stimulated by your brain's understanding of every little micro step that it takes to execute something. So I like to say that this pill really helped me organize not only my thoughts and kind of put my life together, but it has helped me. For instance, you can make a list for a list on this pill, but it's helped me become less resistant to action, resistant to action. That's what it does.
I want to give an example, Joey, of how it can play out in adult life, right? So here's something that happens, especially in our 20s. Like you get that random red light ticket or something like that, and you don't handle it. And then eventually you get those letters in the mail and you don't do anything. And then your license, who calling us? No,
my daughter. That's my daughter.
Oh.
I'm not picking up. Let me, sorry, go ahead. Let me, let me quit this right quick because I don't need her to be calling me right now. I love her to death, but not right now, sis.
We're gonna call you back later, baby.
Yeah.
But no, like you get the ticket, eventually your license gets suspended, and some people just sit on that suspended license for months. You ride around with a suspended license, risking getting pulled over, and all you had to do was just go to the DMV. But somebody with ADHD would think about the money, the going in line. It just seems so difficult, like all of the process.
Yes, the line is long.
Oh my God, I gotta go. Oh my God, I gotta do. And then when you you go and do it, you're like, wow, okay, it took a couple, a little bit out of my day, and I don't have to worry about looking over my shoulder when I drive, all of these different things. But someone with ADHD, that simple step of just going to take care of it, it's like you just can't do it. And for me, you mentioned that depression thing. I had a moment, an error in my life, in my adulthood, where I thought I was like going through this cycle of depression. And at times it was depression because things was going on, but sometimes it wasn't depression. I just couldn't realize why I couldn't get up and do some of the things that I wanted to do, or why I couldn't materialize or put into action my thoughts or ideas, or even people, right? Anybody who's a friend of mine.
Why was it so overwhelming all the time to just even get the fuck up?
Right. And anybody who's a friend of mine, and if you're watching this right now and you're a friend or family member and you know genuinely that I love you and it's real shit, like we like this, I don't hit you up. I don't call you. Like I'm not that, like, I'm not saying I'm not that type of person, but when you have ADHD, it's not in the bad way, out of sight, out of mind. Even when you come to my mind, it's like I have to stop and do it because I might be doing something else. Like it's so many things, like, you know what I mean? And it's hard to explain in a relationship why I went through my whole work day and I didn't text you. No, I'm not dealing with nobody else. I'm not doing nothing. I'm working. I'm involved in my mind. I was hyper focused.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain things like that.
Yeah.
And I had to realize, oh, you need help to kind of compartmentalize everything.
It's so true. And the other thing to that is, like, for instance, when your room is a mess and like, God forbid someone tried to clean up my room for me, I'd be so upset. I know where everything is. It might look chaotic to you, but I know where everything is. But, again, to me, it's a superpower. It's a superpower because knowing where a conversation is going to go, or it's one of those things. Do you want to be the smartest person in the room or the funniest person in the room? With ADHD, you want to be all the people in the room because you understand so well, right? But I also find us to be the most empathetic and understanding because, because we get it. To your point, another, this podcast, for instance, probably took us years to do because it felt like so many steps, but it really was just getting a camera, a mic, and getting on a live and just talking, or getting on a Zoom and just talking, really. But in our brains, it's all these other little extra steps that have to feel perfect and be perfect, and you never really know if it's perfect or not. And so some of the things to combat or to help you with your ADHD, let's get there. What are some things that you do that helps you? outside of medication, because medication, you don't just take it and fix it. There has to be
Oh yeah.
an inner will to you have to have some kind of number one, talk to your doctor, but number two, you have to have some kind of self-awareness and some ability to self-assign what you're going to work on. I don't know how this happened. I literally just declined her. I don't know how this happened.
Don't be declining your daughters now.
I'm declining her. I just
this.
quit this. Stop.
You don't remember this. Watch.
But anywho, sorry about that, guys. That's really ghetto. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. ADHD. What are some things you do to help you stay organized and focused? And when do you know, like, when do you realize it's manifesting the ADHD, and how do you walk yourself to a better place?
Just starting to be more intentional. Start your day with intention.
Yes.
If you said you were going to do something that day, make that I kind of make it like a game. Like, I could reward myself if I do this thing today, right? Because we have that reward, thing with our brains.
Yeah.
Like for the gym, like, you know what I mean? Things like that. Lists. I always make lists. And don't write them on paper. Put them in your phone. Put the list in your phone. They have it where you can put the bullet points, check it off, and just that sense of accomplishment throughout your day, and seeing what you need to do, prioritizing things, and then be open about it. Even when I found out that I had it, I wasn't open with talking about it.
Yeah.
And so people don't understand. So when I have those moments where it's like, man, I had a real ADHD moment, I like to educate people when it happened. Like, I'm sorry, that was me. I had a lot going on in my head. If I realize that I'm interrupting people a lot or something like that, I'm sorry. I'm just excited about what you're saying. I have
yes.
I might make a joke about it or something like that. Or I'm a trainer in my professional career. So, sometimes I'm talking and I'm making a point, and the point is gone. And I'm like, damn, where was I going with it? So it comes up, but just really trying to be intentional about what you're doing before you do it. So you can always kind of go back to that original thought. But honestly, I'm still working on ways. It's really a learning process.
Yeah. The worst thing you could tell yourself as an ADHD person, I'm going to say this, is like in meditation, I used to say, I can't sit still. I can't meditate. I can't sit still. And you can. You absolutely can, right? So meditation works for me. Journaling works for me. And I think learning how to be vulnerable about my shortcomings works for me, which is what you just said. Mm-hmm. So the way that manifests, in conversations, if I was a little emotionally reactive, holding myself accountable, and laying the groundwork. Hey, this is something I'm working on. It may happen again, but just so that I'm always willing to hold myself accountable. I'm sorry, I got a little emotional. I was really excited about this, or, this thing frustrated me. I think the biggest thing is understanding your feelings and your emotions, and understanding what emotions you're experiencing in any given moment. And your triggers, and then, therapy helps. I've had therapy for a while before. I mean, I don't go to therapy now, but I would pick it up again if I needed it. But I really want to say, understanding yourself and your boundaries and your own commitments, and how you experience emotions, and then vocalizing them through vulnerability. If you're an ADHD human being, you go through a million thoughts in a second, and you might feel like you're angry about something now, and then when you talk it out, you realize, oh, I really wasn't that angry. I just wanted to talk to you about it. You gotta own that. I think it starts with a perspective of of self-love, right? Because the people who are normal, quote unquote, will have you feeling like you're wild, you're off the hinges, you're crazy, and you know what? Everyone's entitled to their perspective, but if you had a solid perspective on yourself, it wouldn't shift. When someone says something about my ADHD, in any given moment, either I'm being too hyperactive. Back in the day when I was unhealed, it would bug me. I'd be like, oh my God, you really feel like I'm too much? You really feel like? Now these days, I don't even think twice about it, because I go into every conversation understanding that how I am is how I am, and how someone perceives me is totally based on them. All I can do is just own what I didn't bring to the table, what I did bring to the table, and stay open to wanting to get better, even if it's over and over and over and over. you mess up over and over and over and over, because in life, it's like to the long haul. You're learning a lesson for the long haul. So you're old and gray. And if you don't learn how to self-forgive and self-accept, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. Yeah.
One thing that's helped me, Joey, and I hear people say it a lot, and it really bothers me because I literally have made the opposite, like my life's mission. People always say, that's just how I am. I'm just like that. That's just how I am. And outside of certain things, like I can't stop being black. Hello. Sorry, I can't stop being lesbian. I could stop acting on it, right? I can date men if I wanted to. Would I be happy? Would that be fulfilling? Would that be what I like? No. So I'm not going to do something that makes me unhappy. Um, but I can't stop behaviors. I can stop a way of thinking. I could stop procrastinating, or I could stop not acknowledging that I have an issue, or not acknowledging that, I could be better.
Yeah.
Too many times people like this, I'm just like that. My mama like that, my daddy like that. Okay, you are the one that's in charge of breaking that generational curse now. Go ahead and do it. Like, instead of just saying, that's just how I am. If it's a good trait, don't get me wrong. If, you got being forgiving from your parents, or you got empathy or understanding, inclusion, your parents were open to a lot of different, those are things that, yes, you're just like that. You keep that, you hold on to that. But if it's something that could be better, why do we hold on to that? Like, I'm just, I don't know, my mind is like that, I'm just like that. Like, no, is that something that is helping you? Can it be better? Like, why don't you
Yeah.
lean into fixing that?
You know
That
what
just
else
really
is
bugs
hard for me? To stare someone in the eyes when I'm communicating what I'm thinking. Because so like you'll often see me, like if I'm trying to deliver a message to someone, I'll
me.
start to look around while I'm talking to communicate, because if I focus on someone in their eyes, I'm then having like another experience of how they're feeling while I'm thinking about what I'm feeling. And sometimes I just want to get what I'm thinking out without it being like tainted by what I think someone is thinking. So I'll like
Mhm.
look around or like look up while I'm saying this thing, specifically when it's like heavier emotions, when it's like a serious emotion behind it. Which is really interesting. And I don't know if that's like an ADHD trait. I would assume it is, because it's that being overstimulated with like all the energies and all the knowings, and but also, which is why, like, if you're really really happy, you tend to stick to that. It's like whatever is really strong, you're really really angry, you tend to stick to that. You're really really happy, you tend to stick to that. Or
Right. The dominant feeling.
we focus
Right.
that gives us the only version of focus,
Mhm.
but I think that if anyone, I had someone back in Centerfield ask me, they knew that, I was ADHD, and they also knew that I was taking medication for it at the time. And she asked me, they were going to try to put her kid on some ADHD medication, and what my
Mhm.
thoughts were, and blah, blah, blah. And I think, when you silence your emotions, when you stay calm, I know it sounds crazy, but the truth is you see the truth of what you got to do. Oftentimes we don't want to do these things because we're too worried about what everyone else is going to think about if we make this choice. So for an
Mhm.
example, this person didn't want to get her on medication because this person didn't want her friends and family to be like, why are you giving your daughter this medication? She's so young, this, that, and the third. But the reality is
Mm.
she's running out of school. She's skipping school. She's leaving the house. She's doing all these things. She can't focus in school. Like all of these things that are points to like, let's get this child some help. Um,
Right.
and I share that to say that, like, when you are going to make a choice to go after your mental health, or to like heal yourself, or to like get some help with mental health, I think something damaging you can do is ask yourself, how are others going to think? Because this is not about them. This is about you. How are you going to show up? How are you going to show up for yourself? And then, and really that's really it. But if you do focus on what people are going to say about the pills that you're taking when it comes down to your mental health, or the therapist that you're going to see, especially in the Black and brown community, where like, I'm going to go see a therapist, what you need to talk about, you don't got no problems. It's like, yes
Mm.
mom, you gave me a lot of problems. You know what I mean? And also, we also think it's going to hurt somebody. You know what I mean? But anyways, I digress. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the stigma on mental health, come on, man. It's been too many people and kids committing suicide, too many celebrities committing suicide. So we know that age doesn't have anything to do with it. It's not like the older you get, that's going to go away. It's not like the wiser you get, the richer you get. None of those things are factors.
Yeah.
You could be anybody. You could live anywhere. You could have any kind of career. You could be a kid that's not going through any LGBT. It's a kid, regular, straight cis kid, just struggling with it. Like there's no special thing that determines who has something that they need help with. Um, and I've gotten that too, Joey. Like I do this thing and it even irritates you, and I love it when it happens because you always pick on me. But you'll say something to me and I'll say, "Huh?" Right? Or I'll say, "What?"
It's your favorite word.
And I've done that all my life, and it's because I heard what you said. Most of the time, 90% of the time, I heard you. I am just my processor is going through the words that you said, and I'm buying myself time. So me saying "huh" is just you know, you might repeat yourself, but even if you don't, I'm still going to answer you because I heard you. It's just me buying my brain time. And I've done that before. Somebody's like, "Ain't you acting like you retarded? Like you saw?" Like, no, I want to say, person who said it, I'm like, yeah, I know you're not saying that. I'm way smarter than you. But you have to give people, you have to understand, like, everybody's brain doesn't process things the same.
Yeah.
And it might not be that they don't have anything going on in their brain. It might be that they have a lot going on in their brain. Then they're trying to pick that one thing and give that to you. Um, and I think about higher levels of consciousness, and I hate to take it over there. But like I watch different things, and I hear about like higher evolved species, like how they telecommunicate. Basically, it's so many thoughts in one. It's not just like a singular thought, and that's why we speak a language, because a word basically lets you know exactly what I'm saying. But if I could transmute how I'm thinking into your brain, Joey, you would know,
Mm-hmm.
you would feel, you would smell what I was thinking, you would feel the emotion of it, not just the words. The words can't give you all of those things. And I think that people with ADHD and people with those type of things, even kids who have autism or who are on the autism spectrum, I think we're higher evolved, and we're dealing with stuff that's on a linear basis. You're telling me to think like this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like this.
Yeah.
Is that bad? No, because I can still comprehend all the things you're comprehending. I can do all the things you can do. I can learn the things you're learning, but my brain is multitasking even when I'm not telling it to. And so I
Yeah.
have to call this information down whenever you're telling me to bring this information to you. So when you see this happen in your kids, maybe you're talking to your kids and you're like, do you hear what I'm saying? Like, what do you have to say about that? And they know how to talk, they know how to verbalize, but they're just not speaking. I used to do this as a kid all the time. And they say, why are you not saying nothing? It's like, I'm saying a lot in my head, but I'm processing also how you're going to take what I'm saying. Is it going to be disrespectful? How to
Mm-hmm.
deliver it? Should I say it anyway? Is it even going to matter? Will you
Hmm.
even listen to me? Do you even care? Is it worth it? While you're talking to me, I'm processing all of this information. So next time, you guys, those of you who do have kids, um, I challenge you to think outside of yourself. Think out of the normal levels of, parent-child respect, and try to get into their head. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not that they're not talking because they don't have anything to say. Maybe they know you. Maybe they know
Yeah.
what you're going to say. Maybe they
Yeah.
think they know you. Maybe they are assuming how you're going to react. Or maybe they understand that if they say something, it's not going to be taken in the light that they mean it. Whatever it is. But all of these are little signs that your kid's brain, or, is going, is actually
Yeah.
working. It's doing
Yeah.
things that you don't even know it's doing. And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean they have ADHD, but we need to start taking a look at just outside of just the normal cognitive way that people react to things,
Mm-hmm.
and think outside of the box. And if it's outside of the box, it doesn't necessarily mean it's worse or they have a problem. Like we said, it could be a superpower and they just need to learn how to control it. It's a blessing and a curse at times.
You
Just
know,
got to really, really educate. Go ahead.
parents, the greatest gift you can give a child, in addition to loving them, is the freedom and space for them to be themselves exactly
Mhm.
as they want to show up, and also to help them understand themselves. And oftentimes you're trying to teach a child a topic or an emotion or a style of thinking that you quite don't have a grasp on either. And if you don't know, if you haven't learned how to communicate your feelings, in a healthy way, if you haven't learned how to deal with yourself in a healthy way, if you haven't learned how to get curious about who you are and why you keep going through the things that you're going through, a kid will see that, and before the kid wants to speak their mind to you, they're going to think, well, if I tell her the truth, it's going to mean all these other things, like you just said, all this reaction. I'm going to get this reaction, and I'd rather not experience that. Or you as a parent didn't create a safe ground for someone to speak their mind and thoughts, right? Because we're too busy reacting or getting emotional. And that boils down to like my whole life, message of healing. And you hear that a lot. You probably have heard that in the last couple of episodes. You'll hear it again. Healing, healing, healing. That's what we mean. Learn your triggers, learn how to communicate and articulate your needs so that you can pass that on to your child. And also to Melissa's point, if you haven't learned how to create a safe space for your kid to be themselves, and it sounds a little something like, well, that ain't for boys, or that ain't for girls, or it sounds a little something like, oh, you're being a big baby, da 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 da. Like when you're telling someone these things, you're telling them how to be, who to be. You're not helping them figure out who they are in those moments and why they are. And the greatest gift you can give someone, take it from me and Mel, going into high school, is a fully realized teenager who can actually think about, well, this is what I feel, this is how I feel it. Let me communicate this, and let me be an advocate for anyone else. I think that's what we need a little more of. And we're not saying, like Melissa said, we're not saying, everyone or your child might have ADHD, but I think that having ADHD, her and I, has allowed us to really like think deep into the micro details of healing and why it's so important to break the generational curses. I think that has allowed me to really understand human beings on a whole nother level, because I may experience something and have 5 different feelings and emotions about it. Someone may only go through one. A loss for them is a loss. A loss for me could be a lot of other things, but it allows me to get curious and to ask more questions with people to figure out where they are and what they feel and why they feel and blah, 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 blah. So if you take anything from me, this episode, or Mel, this episode is like, do the work on yourself. And if you're going to be the one to break the generational curse, because that's like a hot buzzword these days. I'm breaking generational curses. If that's your truth, do it. There you go. Boom. If that's your truth, do it. It takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. It stays with you. And forgive your parents too, because they didn't know. They were also learning too. So yeah.
Yep.
Neither here or there.
That's a whole nother episode.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah. Forgive your parents. They was about your age now when they was raising you, probably. So think about the shit you do.
Yeah. I'm gonna toss this episode up to you. You gave a lot of gems today. So yeah, thank you.
Well, since you didn't close it right, we didn't open it right. We're gonna close it right. Thank you guys again for jumping in, tapping into the episode. And if you've been watching it this long, then hopefully you've heard something. If you know someone who has ADHD, you have ADHD, whatever. Drop your experiences in the comments. We want to talk about it. If you have advice for us on how to stay focused, how to, if you've overcome some things, we are always open to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And again, it's been a pleasure. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the
video too. Right? Turn on that notification bell.
Ring that bell.
And I don't know if you guys want to talk about, I like to intersectionality of how like ADHD and then being a person of color, how those two things could potentially be a bigger problem. If you want to hear about that, my thoughts on that and our thoughts on that, and comment, because for whatever reason, I was just guided to say that. I feel like that's a real thing. That we're viewed as emotionally reactive cultures for whatever reason, just already. So, if you want to hear about that, let us know. Anyways, yep. I'm officially Joey T. I'm out.
Bye, guys.
Peace.